Alrighty guys, so in this video we're going to be going over Wednesday's column, which is to solve the equations. So that's the same thing as Tuesday's column, but what makes Wednesday's different is that it's all going to involve multiplication or division. So as you can see here, the first problem that we have is 7x, or 7 times x. It's important to remember that if there's no symbol between the two numbers, then we refer to that as a multiplication operation. And so this is saying that 7x, or 7 times x, is equal to negative 21. And what we want to do is we want to get the x by itself and determine what does x have to equal in order for 7 times that number to be negative 21. Now you probably already figured out in your head that it can be equal to negative 3. But how would we do this systematically to where we could figure out the answer for any equation, even something a little more complicated like including decimals or fractions? The way that would be done is through what's called the multiplication or division properties of equations. So that is, let's use a different color. The multiplication or division properties of equations. And just like we talked about in the last video, if you watched the Tuesday's video, the multiplication and division properties of equations is like the addition and subtraction properties of equations. It means that multiplying or dividing the same thing to both sides of an equation keeps the equation balanced, or it keeps both sides of the equation equal. So what we're going to do here in this very first problem is we're going to either multiply or divide by a certain number in order to get the x by itself, and then figure out on the other side of x what is x equal to. So if this is 7 times x, then you're going to want to use the inverse operation. So the inverse operation. And the inverse operation of multiplication is division, and the inverse operation of division is multiplication. So they're opposites of one another. And so we're going to want to use the opposite of whatever's originally given. In this original problem, we have 7 times x, or multiplication operation. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to divide both sides by the same number 7. And you can see here that 7 times x, or 7x, divided by 7 leaves you with just 1x. But we don't usually show that one, so we can just write it as x, because it's just having 1x. It's not 2 or 3x, it's just 1. And then on the right side, negative 21 divided by 7, 21 divided by 7 is 3, and then negative divided by positive is negative. So we just solve that x is equal to negative 3, like we did earlier in our heads. And so we can check that by just plugging that back into x. 7 times negative 3 is equal to negative 21, and so, yep, that is the correct answer. So that was a multiplication problem. Now let's try a division problem. Let's move on to the very last one. Let's do the very last one. In this very last one, we have that p is equal to, 20 is equal to p divided by negative 3, or p over negative 3. So this is a division problem. So we are going to want to do the opposite, or the inverse operation. We're going to want to multiply both sides by negative 3, or what's technically negative 3 over 1, which then is going to leave us on this right side with negative 3p over negative 3. We got the negative 3p from multiplying p and negative 3, the two top numbers, and then negative 3 on the bottom by multiplying negative 3 and 1. And we're going to set that equal to 20 times negative 3. Because we multiplied by negative 3 on the right side, we're going to multiply by negative 3 on the left side. Now we'll simplify what we can. Negative 3 times 20 is negative 60. And then on the right side, negative 3p divided by negative 3. Negative 3 divided by negative 3 is just 1, leaves just the p. We don't write the 1, so we just solve that p is equal to negative 60. Taking negative 60 and plugging it back into the original equation, we can check to make sure that this is the true answer. Negative 60 divided by 3, 60 divided by 3 is 20. and then negative divided by positive is 20, so this leaves me with 20 is equal to 20, which is a true statement, so that is our correct answer. So for the rest of these problems, these other three problems, you're going to be either multiplying or dividing by the number that is next to the variable, which should cancel out the number to give you a 1, and then you need to change the number